What's happening, everyone? Welcome to the Sportscast with me, Andy Grant. Got Gary Judge from across the park with me over in Spain. Hope you're enjoying your holiday, mate.
Not bad, mate. Not bad. Can't complain.
Yeah, and thanks again for everyone who's listening and watching. Just a little bit of housekeeping. I was in the studio yesterday and we are continuing with the rebrand. It's going to be launched from the 4th of September. From that week onwards, we've got some new things coming. Bit of a new look studio, and we're going to be giving loads away on Patreon. We've got loads of partnerships coming up with local businesses in the city. Bit of a new logos, new rebrand, bit of a new style, new shows, and it's all looking set for the 4th of September. So, yeah, bear with these next couple of weeks on StreamYard while me and Gary are on our hollybobs. But yeah, it's exciting times come September. So, thanks again for it. Where do you want to start? We've got a bit of news in the running world. We've got golf, we've got tennis, we've got football, we've got Saudi Arabia. It seems to be
again.
Where should we start?
Should we start in the golf?
Yeah, we had the Open last weekend.
Yeah, obviously massive tournament as it always is in our area as well. It was great on social media. I didn't go myself, seeing so many of my mates who went down and they all, despite the weather, has a great time.
I think on that, I'm the biggest golf fan in the world, but a few years ago, I was very fortunate and got to go on a trip with a few injured soldiers and got to go to the Open. I actually got to hold the trophy.
By a chug.
Yeah, and I've been trying for this episode. I might try and get it so Muskie can put it out, but to get a photo of it. But yeah, I actually got to hold the claret jug.
Oh, was it?
There you go.
Brilliant, mate. One of the multitudes of things you've got to do.
So, get them blown up.
Like Forrest Gump, too.
Blown up is not that bad, I'm telling you, mate.
But yeah, from a social point of view, as I said, there are loads of funny pictures on the last day when the rain was proper, proper pelting it down. Loads of people just sitting in the hospitality tent going, so what? Do you know what I mean? Still having a boss time. So that was great. I think as a competition, after the second round, Harman pretty much dominated it. I mean, there was a brief moment in the last round where he dropped a shot and a couple picked shots up, but never really looked like dropping it. Funny, actually, I heard an interview. You may have heard this as well. A lot of people may have done on the radio. And he said, it was funny. He said he was walking off. I think it was like the 6th or 7th tee after he dropped the second shot. Actually, it was earlier. It was the 4th tee. And someone, like, as he was walking past, someone heckled and went, yeah, what did he say? You haven't got the minerals, Harman. He said, and I just thought, right, that's it. I'm going to prove these wrong. Yeah, you haven't got the stones. You haven't got the stones for this, Harman. I thought, I don't know if they were just doing it like kind of to rile up a little bit, but yeah, you obviously proved them wrong.
You bang on, it wasn't the most competitive kind of game. Well, it wasn't like, being wrong, it's still but it obvious that the winner wasn't it? Like, say, into like the third hit.
There's so many times, like, and I don't confess to watch every single golf major, but the ones I have watched down the years, there's so many times actually going into the last round where someone is 4 or 5 shots clear, you do tend to wobble a little bit and it gets really close and sometimes even goes to a playoff. But fair play to Harman, like he was solid throughout his round. It was tough conditions. The others couldn't get near him. One of whom was Rory McIlroy, who never really got going. He had a good third round, kind of a start of the third round, and then again couldn't really keep it up. And I was listening to the commentary towards the end of the final round. We were talking about McIlroy about the fact that a while since he's won a major, and I started looking into it a little bit. Most people know it's been since 2014 when he won his 4th major. He won 4 majors in his first 2 years, by the way, which was only beaten by Tiger Woods in terms of how quickly he got to 4. But he's been chasing that elusive 5th major since then. So it's nearly been 10 years since he won a major. But I was thinking, he always seems to be in the mix, and he was to some extent, over the weekend as well. And I started looking into that. So he was tied 6th at Hoylite. Nice one, Rory, because I had you each way to finish in the top 5. But it was his 30th top 10 finish in 59 major starts, which is over a 50% strike rate from a top 10 finish perspective, which tells you that most of these majors he's turning up and he's getting himself into a position to challenge, but he's obviously not getting there. For some context as well, Tiger Woods in his first 59 major starts he notched 34 top 10s, which is only 57%, so it's only 7% more than him. But comparing, and listen, we're comparing, I'm comparing him here with Tiger Woods, is the greatest, do you know what I mean? Along with Jack Nicklaus, the greatest. But Tiger Woods had won 14 majors by this point in the same period of time. But just got me to thinking, there's got to be some kind of mental block there, to get into that, that position so many times since 2014 and to fall short. I'm not putting him alongside Emma Raducanu, because I know you're going to bring her up again in this episode in terms of just being an absolute, not a loser, but almost just making really poor decisions and everything. But he didn't speak to the media like before the Open. He was clearly trying to do things differently. He didn't speak to the media after any of his rounds either. He refused to be interviewed until after the tournaments are finished. So he's clearly starting to think, now I need to kind of get myself out of that limelight, if you like, and keep myself focused on the game. But still, the amount of birdie putts he missed over the course of the weekend, I think in the third round alone, I think he missed 6 putts of less than 10 feet, which is really poor for a player of that standard. He is criticised for his putting, and it might just be as simple as that, but I just don't, it can't be. And there's no way you're allowing it for 10 years to be your Achilles heel. I haven't watched every single one of those majors to see why he's failed. The putting was clearly a big factor the weekend, but putting definitely comes down to, listen, world-class golfers are not crap putters, are they? For me, and again, I'm not making it sound that simple, putting is one of those aspects where it's just being, getting into your routine, setting yourself, and then just being consistent with it.
I could be way off here, and again, people who've maybe watched other majors might have more reasons why Rory's not delivered, but do you think, and again, we could talk about Emma Raducanu, we could talk about footballers, but do you think there's an element of financially, there's no pressure anymore? If he's hitting that many top 10 finishes, it's not so like, this is for the money. He's already clearly, very wealthy. I think he might be still golf's number 1, I think, at the moment in the rankings, I think maybe.
In the PGA, yeah.
Yeah. But it's like, money-wise, I mean, he's so set, and he doesn't almost need to, does he? I don't think.
Yeah, but he doesn't need top 10s then, does he? Why bother, like, when you get to the second round and you're not going to win it, why even bother continuing? So I'd agree with that if there wasn't that level of consistency of still, in one in 2 majors, he's getting into the mix. He's in the top 10, like, so he's probably within 3, 4, 5 shots of winning it every time. That, like, why would you, if you're not, if the money was your only motivation, I think you'd have swear to by now. Not swear to, but well.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. I just think maybe the point is where maybe you need to kind of get that bit between your mouth and, really, really kick on. He's thinking, well, you know what? I've secured the top 10 here. Listen, I'm happy. I'm in the money.
Look, he knows, and I'm not bringing it up as a crazy analysis, and as you suggested, coming to my conclusions over. I just thought it was a really, really interesting one, and I won't be the first person to point it out. As I say, I don't confess to be any kind of golf expert, but
yeah,
everyone knows Rory McIlroy. Like, he's considered, going into next week in the next few weeks, he's more than likely going to be world number 1 again, or over the, in Europe and America, it'd be, the highest ranked player. Yet he hasn't won a major again, and I think it'll be something like the 7th or 8th time that he's been world number 1 in that period. At the end of the year, yet he hasn't won a major. It's like,
it is always baffling as well when in a sport, and it annoys me in tennis how they do this, where you can have a player who, like you say, hasn't actually won a major in so long, but yet he's considered the best in the world, and there's almost that little bit of, I understand that it goes on points and it goes on merit and it goes on other things, but actually, the bread and butter's winning the majors, and if you've got a guy who's not won one in 10 years, why is he considered number 1? I think that's a whole new debate, I guess, but it happens in the tennis. Novak Djokovic was going into Wimbledon. He'd won, I think, the last 3. I think he'd won the Australian Open, the US Open, but yeah, he went into Wimbledon as world number 2.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I think it's mad, and yeah, again, I'm not the biggest fan. I do like watching the majors, and yeah, I kind of want Rory to do it. You know what I mean? To us, I think not just clearly us talking about it. Clearly, it was all over the news. The fact that he hadn't won one in 10 years. But I think it would be nice for him just to get that monkey off his back and yeah, clearly do what he's put himself in the position to do.
Yeah, we talk loads about legacy on here, don't we? You really brings it up, but like I do start to think like, where are you going to be if you do finish on 4, which is one of them numbers, and it's like, oh, you got 4, yeah. Like 5 is the number that well, 5 is what he's been striving for a while now, particularly the longer it's been since he's won the last one. What is his legacy going to be? Is it going to be, oh yeah, he's a decent player, bro? You know, won a few majors early on, and then just kind of competed.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a shame. It's definitely a shame that he hasn't got that 5th one. I hope he does. I hope he proves me wrong and takes, snaps up. Not proves me wrong. I hope he snaps up the next major and we're not talking about it. But yeah, I thought it was one to keep an eye on.
The last thing I'll say, mate, and you started off saying it, he won. He had such a massive start. Did he set expectations too high himself, or did we fans, did the media maybe create the rod for his own back? Maybe.
Is it the Raducanu thing again, where he's got ahead of himself and
it leads us on to it because she's been making the news again. Not so much her been making the news, but people are just talking about it a hell of a lot again. And it's I listened to a great interview that someone who was in the world of tennis, and basically she's gone against the grain. She's won she won the US Open, which kind of put her on this platform. What she's done very different than what everyone else done who won major championship early on in her career is she's just been ruthless with her coaching. Now, you can look at that 2 ways, go, no one else does it that way. Normally you should keep your coach, but apparently she's always changed the coaches all throughout her career. She's always been very, 12 months, 18 months on, changing a coach.
Freshen it up.
Yeah, and the person listening to on the radio on TalkSport, it was, basically said that she always do that. That's just going to be, in her locker now. She will always be one of these players that every year or two always changes the coach. So on one hand, you can think, okay, well, she set a store up, that's what she's going to do. I think the bigger problem now comes for her is if you are, one of the best coaches in the world, Emma gives you the call and says, do you want to be my coach? You know that she's got a track record of, getting rid of you in the next, 6, 12, 18 months. Why are you going to do that? It's not as if these tennis coaches are on millions of pounds a year, like football managers. So probably on a couple $100,000 a year. So some of these coaches, I mean, if you want to go really big, they're obviously are on millions, but she's going to be in this position now where she has to go with a coach that is pretty unknown, who kind of wants to make a name for themselves, or she's going to have to go with really a big coach. And will one of these big coaches want to take a risk on her, knowing that this is just going to be a little 12-month project? And it almost brings the coach into a bit, like brings the coach's name down a bit, because if you're a top coach, you get involved in Raducanu, she doesn't win anything in 12 months, then you get fucked off by her. It doesn't look great for you, does it?
No. I think you make a good point. However, I think most normally coaches or professionals at the top end of the game, they love a challenge, but also they always consider themselves to be a little bit better than the next person. I think a lot of coaches are looking at it and go, I want to be that person who kicks it, helps it kick on again, regardless of whether she keeps you for 12 months or not. If anything, see, imagine you're that coach for 6 months, 12 months, she wins a major, and then, jibs it off, and then she doesn't win another one ever again. It's like, oh, soz. So in a weird way, it's almost a no pressure situation, because if she continues playing poorly, no one's blaming you, because she changes coaches all the time anyway. And there's not going to be a big scandal around the fact she's got rid of you, or that means you're rubbish.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think the only question I'd have, if you are looking for top coaches, is where's the money coming from?
I know.
With respect, like I'm sure she's got some decent sponsors, but there's only so long they're going to keep with her, and she's going to be able to live off, as you said, that US Open win.
Yeah.
So I think it. Listen, as we say so often, it's an extremely challenging situation for her. She's clearly, an extremely talented, player as well. But
and I kind of that I'm getting on her back. I'm genuinely not, but it genuinely does fascinate me though, because I think it is just a crazy story of a young girl like you say, who's extremely talented. Through again a little bit like Rory, just got put into this crazy kind of platform of being, one of our great hopes as a nation, if you like. And yet it's just not delivered because of maybe whether it's the media, the pressure, whatever it is. I do genuinely find it really fascinating. I mean, you've even got tennis icon Billie Jean King, who's come out. She won 12 majors. She's saying that Emma needs to learn to deal with criticism. So, you know, it's not just the Leggett Sportscast who's fascinated with Emma Raducanu, you know, everyone is, but I do just think it's mad. One slightly really sour point, mate, to just finish off on the tennis. Thought we were past this, clearly not. We had a situation last year in Wimbledon where some of the Russian and Belarusian players. There's a tournament in Poland out at the moment where one of the Russian players has been told she's not welcome. So border guards have prevented the Russian tennis player Vera Zereneva from entering Poland. She's trying to get into the country to play in the Warsaw Open, and the Polish government's put it on the list of undesirable visitors, which, you know, the WTA says they're going to investigate it. It's just really poor. I think, I don't think this is achieving anything. Do you know what I mean? This is a girl who played. I mean, I don't know much about her personally, but I'll put money on she probably doesn't even live in Russia anymore. Like most of these tennis players, they change somewhere else. Why is she getting discriminated against just because the leader in her country happens to be a massive bellend? You know, imagine, you know, you going on holiday and he's saying, "Oh yeah, well, by the way, you know, Boris Johnson, he used to run your country. Don't like him. You're not."
Well, mates with Andy Grant. You're mates with Andy Grant. You're not coming in here.
Wouldn't surprise me.
I get that. No, you nailed it there, mate. It's discrimination, and it's this sounds terrible, and it's not, you know, true in every sense of the word, but it's almost worse than like the war. If that's being, you know, that's being done on a mass scale across the world, if you like, how many more people are being affected by that? No, I'm not saying it's worse to be in that situation than it is to be in the war. Don't get me twisted there, but it's horrible. I mean, you're a hypocrite, aren't you? You're saying, I'm not allowing you to live your life, despite the fact you've got no tie apart from where you were born to the war. I'm not allowing you to continue living your life or continue your profession because this war's going on. What kinds of idiot are you?
Well, the thing is, like, they've not learned anything either, because they've done this last year at Wimbledon. It didn't achieve anything. This year, the war's still going on, yet they allowed the Russian players to play. So, you know, banning them in the first place didn't even achieve anything anyway. And yet, Poland have now took the same stance as Wimbledon did last year. So, really frustrating. I feel for the Russian girl who literally can't play just because of where she's from.
You're right, though, that the ATP need to step in, though. They're ultimately the ones that can control, if you like, what the stand should be. It should be, look, if you don't want Belarusian and Russian players playing your competition, you're not welcome as an ATP host, if you like. Or the other way around. This is going to be the general rule. Like, they're allowing this to go on, and it's obviously tarnishing the tournaments, tarnishing the experience for some of the spectators who may be there to watch certain players, and above all else, as you say, it's giving the lives of some players and careers.
Well, you know, you think about some of these players who are needing the paycheck. Do you know what I mean? I don't know, again, this girl too well about how kind of, you know, well off she is of maybe career win. She needs to play the tournaments to win money, and she's not allowed to. It's crazy.
No, it is. Sorry, do you know what is crazy? Forgot to put sugar in my tea, and it's absolutely devastating. Sitting here sipping my tea, going,
rookie mistake, that was rookie mistake.
Oh,
sorry. You know what was going to be a rookie mistake, and I will tell you what I was going to say. Now, I was going to make a really poor joke, because I've just seen that in Birmingham at the moment, the World Blind Games are going on, and I was going to say, did you see them? But we won't. I won't go down. What I did, that was quite funny. What I did see though, mate, is again, for those who are big fans of the podcast, what we're going to be doing is some running challenges come September, and on the running side of things, the women's mile record has just been broke by 38 from Kenya's Faith Kipyegon. She set the women's mile record by almost 5 seconds. She ran it in 4 minutes 12 seconds, which is incredible.
Say she's 38.
Yeah.
Hey, mate, there's still hope for us.
No, she's 29. Sorry,
29. Ah, it killed me there.
I mean, the two big things on this, I feel like I'm going to build it up and then bring it back down, is number one, unbelievable time. I mean, any runners, you know.
What was it? What is it?
4 minutes 12. She ran it in. Oh no, sorry, she's ran it in 4 minutes 7. The previous record was 4 minutes 12, so she's ran a mile in 4 minutes 7 seconds, which is just like crazy. But I didn't realise that women haven't broke the 4-minute mile yet, which I don't know. I maybe naively assumed that there were women out there who could run a mile and all.
If you broke the 4-minute mile,
I'm not like trying to diminish this girl's record. She's just ran it in 4 minutes 7. Incredible.
yeah.
I thought though that maybe it would be quicker than that.
I mean, if you go up this way, I always think about it. If you go up from the 100 meters world record all the way up, obviously the margin of the difference in from a percentage point of view between the men's world records and the women's world record, that's not really surprising, is it?
Yeah, I was supposing you put it.
But I think physiologically, I'm not saying it's impossible, and someone will definitely prove me wrong. No, someone will definitely do it at some point, I'm sure, with the advances in technology and sports science. But
yeah,
generally speaking, unless you're going to have, unless we're going to go into the waters again around the transgender athletes, God, please don't. Someone's broke the world record by 17 seconds.
Yeah.
Are you like, all right?
That is another one, mate. Yeah, that's not even go down that.
Have you seen that video? It went viral, so I'm sure you've definitely seen it, where it's like the Senate asking questions about or answering questions around transgender athletes and whatever, and someone says, obviously tongue in cheek, but trying to push the boundaries of what's allowed. What would happen then if Mike Tyson changed his sex and wanted to, compete as a female boxer? And the fella goes, well, yeah, that'd be allowed. And it shows a video next of like, from this girl's perspective, saying 25 fights, yeah, this is my last fight. And then there's the other corner standing there like at the hood off, and then Mike Tyson turns around with like a wig on, and she's just like, and she just gets bladdered by Mike Tyson.
It is. Yeah, that potentially. Hopefully that stuff doesn't happen, but yeah, it's mad. I mean, you know what else does me head in about like running records like that? I mean, I know you've run a lot yourself, but people who haven't run, I don't think realise how amazing that is. For her to run a mile in 4 minutes 7 is just like you can't even compute it unless you run yourself.
No, do you know what I'd advise someone to do is, like, if you've got a watch or most watches can do it now. Set like your little pace one on, so it tells you what minute per mile pace you're running at, and then just sprint as fast as you can for 10 seconds and stop it, and you won't be far. You'll be about that pace. That's literally what they're doing for a mile.
Well, I ran a 5K once at 5 minute 50 minute mile pace, so that's still like 1 minute 50 seconds off the pace, and I was blowing out me fucking ass. So,
from the first mile, so you're third.
So it's like
you're right though. When you're running that fast, it's your breathing, like because you can only feel. I mean, you'll know this better than me. You can only really feel, and I know it's not necessarily true. You can only really feel one major pain at one time, can't you? So you're either struggling with your breathing massively, or you're struggling with your, you know what I mean? Your brain can't tell you that there's all these pain. You know what I mean? But generally, for me, it's me breathing. It's like trying to keep that going.
Yeah.
Well, phenomenal achievement.
No, it is incredible. The other just little ones before we get into kind of the more major sports is going to be a new documentary coming out. I watched the last one. I mentioned that a few weeks back about the Tour de France. Brilliant documentary. Cavendish is going to be coming out as a new Netflix launching on the 2nd of August called Mark Cavendish Never Enough, where he opens up about his depression. And I just think that'll be a really fascinating one to watch. That, we talk about mental health a lot nowadays, but I think it's always that bit more fascinating for me personally when you talk about mental health, but from an extreme athlete point of view, as someone who's potentially, they're in the limelight, they're achieving success in whatever sport they're doing, but yet they've also got a normal life. He's got a wife, he's got kids, he's got normal day-to-day issues like we all do, but he also happens to be competing at, the top end of sport. So I think that'll be a really, really interesting watch. That comes out the 2nd of August.
Yeah, 100%. And just from a personal point of view, during lockdown, it was during lockdown. It was even before that. And it was my dad's birthday. Dad's his dad's 60th birthday, so it was 3 years ago. I think it was towards the end of lockdown. And he's a massive cycling fan. And I'm a massive cyclist, to be fair, does a lot of cycling. But he's a huge fan of Bradley Wiggins. So being the chancer that I am, I reached out to Bradley on his socials and just said, look, it's my dad's birthday. I said, personally, he's had a tough time. And I opened up about some of the stuff that's happened with my mum. My mum's not well. My mum's been mentally unwell for a long time. So I told him briefly the story about my mum, and fair play to him, come back to me straight away. And he said, do you mind if I send you? He said, can I have your number? So I gave me number. And he says, do you mind if I send you a video? And I was like, no. So literally, mate, he opens up for about, I've never said this to anyone. Sent it to a couple of close friends and said, look, please don't ever share this, but it is what he sent. About a 5-minute video. I'll show you one time. I've got it on the computer still. 2 5-minute videos it was. The first one was him opening up about his mental health and what he's gone through, and he has a similar situation with his first, his wife, his first wife. And he's in tears, mate, and he's talking about, it was unbelievable. But the second video was like giving some advice about, listen, this is how I dealt with it. I'm not saying this is the way to do it, but these are the things I learned from it. And the model, if you like, of the video is just like, look, you've clearly got an amazing family here. Your son's reached out to me, and I've heard about your daughter and your grandkids and whatever. They're the things you need to keep focusing on. The certain things in your life that'll change. You're never going to be the world's best, greatest, the world's best cyclist forever. You can't win the Tour de France every year. Yeah. There's certain things in your life that you can control and you can maintain, and that will be consistent. And focus on that. But massive credit first and foremost to them in that situation for reaching out. My dad was in bits, like watching it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's amazing.
Let's watch it. I think he watches it from. He says he watches it from time to time. He's feeling a little bit down or whatever. He'll just watch that video and go, listen, if Bradley Wiggins goes through that,
yeah, exactly.
Anyone could be going through that. And I think that's probably what you're getting at is, these people who seem superhuman, and they are superhuman physically, beneath the bonnet, beneath the shell. They're just normal people, aren't they?
Big time, mate. Big time. That's boss story, that, mate. I can't wait to watch that.
Yeah, no worries. No, I'll take that out for you.
One person, mate, who's probably mental health, did take a bit of a knock. It's one of our own. Was in the UFC this weekend. Was Meatball Molly. Bit worried for it in the sense, again, not gonna profess to be like the world's biggest, UFC nut, but from she had this awful kind of loss record. I think it was 3 or 4 losses on the spin, and she got 2 or 3 wins, I think it was.
Well,
and now back on 2 defeats again. Again, it wasn't so much the defeat, but I think going into the fight, the girl she was fighting record was 1-5, I think. So this she was
a layup.
Yeah, she was at I think at odds with, she was at 2-5, 1-3. Odds on, real heavy favourite. And for it to get, put away so easily, it was, absolutely gutted for it. It seems to be, when she's standing, she can be a match for anyone, but the second it gets taken to the ground, I mean, this girl, black belt in jiu-jitsu, she's no mug, but I don't know what happens from here for her. She's clearly took a bit of a knock. I see in one photo, her arm was up in a sling. I don't know how injured she's going to be for how long. But I'm just interested to know kind of where she goes. I mean, I think she might have 1 fight left on her current deal.
Yeah, and that's as you suggested there, and I said it was a layup. The UFC wanted us to win at the weekend. There's no doubt about it. She's a huge personality. She's obviously very close to Paddy, and I think they almost come as a little bit of a package in there. And I think you love the whole scouts thing that goes on, and the song and dance they make when they win. So there's no doubt that the UFC in general would have preferred Molly to win, at the weekends and to to come out and to enjoy it the way she does and to celebrate it the way she does. From a technical point of view, and again, a bit like golf, I don't profess to be an expert in UFC, but as per your observations, mine are the same. When she's on her feet and she's striking, there's very few women who can deal with that, but there was clearly a game plan there, and it was let's get Molly to the ground as quickly as possible, and it'll be over. I'm not saying Molly's a mug on the ground. Any regular person, she's putting them to sleep, but at that level, it's clearly an Achilles heel. Say clearly, it seems to be what the opponents are targeting. I actually made a bit of a light-hearted joke in one of my WhatsApp groups the other day saying, why don't she go into boxing? And I was like, not even a bad shout. Like, listen, she'd fly through most of the, with respect to women's boxing, there's some outstanding women's boxers out there, female boxers, and obviously we've waxed lyrical about, Natasha Jonas's achievements. I'm not saying it as though it's that easy to just step in the ring, but I'm telling you, the skill set from a striking point of view.
I'd have to go back and watch it, but I'm sure for those, super fans of the podcast, when we did have Molly on, I'm sure she says that the plan was one day to dominate UFC and then switch to boxing. So maybe
listen,
on your WhatsApp, I'm sure that she's kind of mentioned in the past.
I haven't seen that, and I didn't want to be disrespectful to her because I'm sure, well, she may not watch it, but Muskie might do his magic and click this up and she might see it. But it's listen, she's an outstanding athlete, and you don't get to the UFC without being an outstanding athlete. And I'm not saying she can't ever achieve what she wants to achieve in MMA. But if it's looking at, okay, I've got a lifespan in terms of my age and how long I can compete at this level athletically for, and where am I best kind of hedging my bets. Again, I'm not an agent. I'm open for work though, if you want, Molly. I'd strongly advise her to consider it. If that's something she's always thought about, I think there's an opening there. I think there's an opportunity. I personally think it's a better opportunity at being a world champion and being number one than currently that UFC division, which is getting tougher and tougher. And as you've said, the opponents the weekend, she'll be the first to say that she's not the strongest, and she's going to come up against a hell of a lot better than that if she's going to keep climbing.
No, exactly, mate. And one guy though who did put on a show, mate, was Tom Aspinall. Obviously local lad in the terms of the Northwest. Absolutely disposed of his opponent, and again, talk was John Jones. So I think he's done a tweet, and then John Jones something, and then he's kind of on his radar at least. But
mate, yeah. Look, let's start with Aspinall because we'll come on to John Jones. Absolute animal, and he can't do any more than he's doing right now. I think it was good to see him actually being a bit more like bullish and a bit more cocky about it after his fight, because he hasn't called anyone out before.
It's always
don't go straight for John Jones though.
Well, I think there's the other fight, isn't it, that's going to take. So he called out the winner of Silagan and Spivak. That's basically a fight next, and then he wins that. He's saying, I want John Jones. So you're saying don't call him out, but I mean, he had this horrific injury that put him out for I think a year. It was 18 months maybe. Come back, wins in first round fashion like he did. Straight away starts calling people out. I mean, he was on a bit of a ride anyway. He had this horrendous injury, and he's just like, no, that's it. Back in the driver's seat. Let's go again. And I was buzzing, mate. I sound like a bit of a hypocrite because I hate people who are too gobby when they've got nothing to gob off about. But I always use the example of Callum Smith. My personal favourite boxer, Callum Smith. But I think sometimes I'm like, call people out, start calling people a knob. Do you know what I mean? He never does. He's nice. Whereas I think Tom Aspinall had a little bit about that. But
no, listen, as I say, he's it'd be great to hear him being that confidence, about himself and having that belief in himself. And I'm certainly not discouraging that. I just think, look, there's levels to every game, and John Jones is levels above everyone. I'm sorry, like we need to be out. He was obviously out for different reasons, and I'm not going to go into condoning his behaviour outside of the octagon, but he was out for 3 years and come up against a pretty much undefeated Cyril Gane and disposed of him like he was just some absolute bum on the street. I'd love to see it. I'd love to see it, and I'd love to see it for Aspinall, because that's a career defining and probably hang your boots up type fight. The money he's probably going to get for it as well. But listen, unless he waits 3 or 4 years and John Jones is geriatric,
past it.
I think I still think it's over very quickly. That
regardless, it's exciting times. He's put himself in a great.
It is.
And
it is. Tell the team, great win again, and that's hard, isn't it? Like when you're in that position, and he hasn't been in that position his whole career. everyone, talk about odds, he must have been about 1-7, 1-8 to win that fight. That's pressure, that, and these aren't like, again, he's fighting other fighters at the top of their game as well. So to do it as efficiently as he did, and in his typical style, because it would have been easy at the weekend for him to go, no risks here, let's just get the fight won. I don't want to open up too much, because like with any MMA fight, anything can happen. Someone can sweep you be on the floor, suddenly it's over, as we seen with Molly. But he went, no, I'm going to do it my way. I'm going to keep just battering through everyone. So credit to him.
The other one as well, mate, that happened, which was a mad time. I was only made aware of it, thanks to you, with the fight over in Japan.
Inoue.
You were able to watch it. I didn't see it myself, but again, I've seen the highlights. The knockout looked pretty knockout, mate. It was horrendous, but yeah, you were pretty impressed by him.
Yeah, I mean, you can't not be impressed by him. To go up the way he did, in that fight, go up a weight, and I think it was an interesting one, because he's in his own division. He's always dominated the fight from start to finish. Well, he's gone up 2 weights now, so the last 2 divisions he's been in. Is that 4 now? It's at least.
The interview I saw was straight away, can he go on and be a 7-weight world champion or something?
Yeah, well, again, it was the first time for me, and I can't say I thought he was going to get beat the other night, but Stephen Fulton, he's if you watched it from the first minute and you look at him stylistically, he's a bit like Mayweather, kind of fights on the defensive, on the back foot, looks to pick people off, and I thought could be a bit of a clash of styles here for Inoue, because he's very open in the way that he fights. He does leave opportunities for the opponent. I thought he might get picked off, and also he was fighting, in Fulton, someone who had the reach on him as well. So it could have been a very tricky fight, and I said to you, I fancied it to go the distance, because again, he's going up in weight against a significantly bigger man for me. Physically, definitely a bigger man, but from the first belt, you could see that Fulton was feeling the power of his shots, and Fulton plants his feet as well. So he was letting shots go, and apart from one minor, I think it was like the 3rd or 4th round where he caught him slightly, and he knew he did feel it. He didn't look like the bigger fighter at all, but he's got everything, mate. You talk about, again, I was even confused on whether it's 4 or 5 weights he's gone up now. Looking now, actually, bantamweight, super flyweight, like he's gone up at least 4 divisions, 4 weight classes.
You talk about his armory kind of thing, what he's got. I mean, if anyone hasn't, just go and find the knockout on Twitter.
What's that finish? Yeah,
that fella's waking up with a headache in the morning, mate. He's like, it's a pretty brutal finish to a fight.
Footwear, hand speed, ring craft, like power. He's got it all. I mean, the footwork is the most impressive thing for me. He dances around the ring, and he's obviously cocky with it, but he knows he's moving so well.
Yeah,
that he's very difficult to hit. But I think, and this is, be careful the way I say this, I think if he was American, he'd be on the poster, he'd be on the billboards of every, on every corner. He would be. Because he's
feel about him, wouldn't he?
Yeah, and I'm not saying because he's Japanese, he's not getting the attention that he deserves or whatever. But
it is.
I'm not asked. I'm not asked, mate.
That is the reason, mate.
No. But look, I guess he doesn't help himself. He was fighting at 1:30 in the afternoon the other day on a Tuesday. People aren't like having a day off, are they? So generally, unless they're on holiday to watch the boxing. But listen, from a sheer appreciation point of view, and as you say, if you haven't seen Inoue, then get on YouTube and watch some of his knockouts. I mean, that knockout was impressive the other day. Probably not his most impressive one either. Absolute crazy, and he's only 30, which for lightweight is a little bit older than there's in the heavyweight division, but he's certainly still got 3, 4, 5 years of being as good as he is.
Yeah, mate. Let's finish the recording off, mate, with the old foosball. Where to start, mate? Let's just get Saudi Arabia out the way. He dominates everything recently. What I will touch on, mate, initially, mate, is Talk a little bit about him last week, Jordan Henderson. The rumours were when we recorded last week he might go. We record this week, he has officially gone. The frustrating thing again for me is the back pages coming out saying, does Henderson owe us an explanation for his move? Let me tell you this now, right? Jordan Henderson was not growing up on the streets of Sunderland with his dream to represent gay people or to represent gay rights. He was dreaming of playing for Sunderland, winning trophies, and probably becoming a millionaire. That's probably what he was thinking about when he was 10, 11, 12 age. That's what I was thinking about. Playing at Anfield, winning trophies, and living in a mansion. You know, that's what I think most kids are playing for. He wasn't thinking about representing gay rights or wearing rainbow laces or anything like that. So why now are people asking him to kind of justify why he's moved to Saudi Arabia? Listen, he's done everything he's wanted to do in his career, and now he's gone to finish off his career with a big fat paycheck. Why anyone thinks he needs to, you know, defend his actions, I've got no idea. And I personally, I'm buzzing for him. Absolutely made up. Not to do a name drop, give him a little text and was like, oh, mate, buzzing for you. He's like, oh, thanks, mate, I appreciate it. Might even go out there, lad. We do a bit of a legged podcast in Saudi. We'll go over there. But honestly, joking aside, proper buzzing for him. Glad it's all over now. Glad this saga's done with. And hopefully we can kind of, as a Liverpool fan anyway, you know, move past it. Great captain.
Oh, yeah.
And the respect he's never got, if we're being honest. Over from Gerrard, won absolutely everything. Listen, fair play to him. Got not one bad thing to say about him.
I mean, there's been a few little like debates, if you call it that, about, you know, who's the better captain, Henderson or Gerrard or whatever. And you've got obviously your purest football fans going, look, Gerrard, he can take the game by the scruff of the neck and he can do this and do that. And I'd have to agree with that. However, just on a pure stats point of view, Jordan Henderson must be one of the top 2 or 3 most successful captains in Liverpool's history. Obviously, the 80s, 70s, 80s captains are going to mop up all the European trophies and whatever. And there was a daft period there where 2 or 3 captains have probably racked up stupid honours. However, he's got to be, you know, he'll be ahead of Gerrard only from an honours point of view because he's picked up the Premier League and
I think, mate,
and Champions League.
I totally agree. You know, Gerrard could, you know, win the game, you know, win finals. Gerrard was, you know, notorious for being a big game player. He scored in every final he could score in. But let's not take anything away from Henderson. There's different pressures that come with, you know, winning. You know, and Henderson was in a far better team, and that pressure to then win every week when you're chasing down a league title, you know, he showed unbelievable, you know, experience. And
the thing is as well, as you say, it's a different type of pressure, isn't it? His pressure was, how do I keep these, like, how do I get the best out of these players, and how do I continue keeping them? Because he wasn't the match winner, he wasn't the talisman. Yeah. And in a weird way, that's a little less pressure. It's like, I just have to turn up. If I turn up, we'll win this game. Whereas he had to go, no, he needs to turn up. He needs to be playing here. I need to make sure he covers him. He does that. And that's what he was. I mean, he was a lot of hand pointing, wasn't it? But that's what, like, you're either one captain or the other, aren't you?
Yeah, he was a big voice in the dressing room, and I think that's a great point you make. You know, Henderson's pressure was being a kind of team player and making sure everyone was on their game. Gerrard's pressure was almost a Roy the Rover's pressure. Yeah, you know, just turn on, win the game in the last minute. So yeah, you can't really compare them in that sense. But just anyone who's ever pop at him, I just think needs to take.
Listen, you know, one of I guess the best credits that you get for a captain, say an opposition captain, we hated him. Everton fans hate him. And not because he like popped up. I think he may have scored 1 or 2 and maybe 1. I think 1 goal. I think he scored against us, or maybe 2. But I hated him. And just as a footballer, I hated him. I just hated him. Do you know what I mean? And he really got under my skin. And look, you know, you don't get like that unless you're either successful or good or both. And listen, just from a respect point of view, what a career he's had so far. I'm not saying his career's over, but look, he's not going to get, whether we like it or not, he's not going to get the same level of either attention or respect for going over there. But look, as you said at the start, he's ticked another box. He's certainly going to be able to add another block onto that mansion and put a few more mil in the bank for his family and his not only his kids, his grandkids are probably secure now as well.
Well, he's the highest paid English player ever. Apparently not. So
Listen, that's amazing. That's amazing. Because I look, now it's not all about money, but how often do we talk about the first £1 million player, the highest transfer fee?
Yeah.
What you're paid or what someone buys you for or what they pay you is a reflection of your value and how good you are. So that's something to be proud of, whether you like it or not.
Great point about, again, the hypocrisy in the media. You talk sometimes, Piers Morgan always goes on about it, Ronaldo, highest paid player, highest paid. You got an English lad here from working class area in Sunderland who's now gone on to become highest paid English player, but now no one's that bothered about it now because it's Saudi.
People want to focus on the fact that he's turned his back on the LGBT community.
One fella who must have already got too much money is Kylian Mbappe. He's apparently not interested in turning up for El Hilal after they had a £257 million bid accepted by PSG. They were offering him a reported 80 grand an hour, as I thought was one of the best stats I heard from all those breakdowns.
That must be a little bit more than what you get for your talks, isn't it?
Yeah,
that record as well. In person to get paid more than 90 grand per hour.
I mean, how can you even, like, 80 grand an hour? I mean, it's just like, I see it. I mean, it's funny because it's so sad, but it's like someone says, how can someone cost more than building a hospital? And it's like, wow, yeah.
That's how much, per hour it probably costs to build it.
What he's going to get paid a year if he goes. You can build a hospital, you can build a school, you could do so much for
you could build a city probably in the time. Like, say he spends a year there, you could probably build a city with the amount of money they pay him.
It's like, but anyway, he said he's not after going. He's not after going. He said, leave that money for Andy Grant. He said,
or he just wants to wait until the 1st of August that he gets his loyalty bonus, and then he'll change his mind and say he wants to go.
Well, that is the big thing, yeah. If he's still a PSG player on the 1st of August, he gets, I think, 60 mil loyalty bonus.
Isn't that his dividends from his shareholdings or whatever that he's got in the club?
I think PSG have just shot themselves in the foot by, giving him far too much. But you know what I think the big thing was for Mbappe was that I read that when he signed his last contract, it was meant to be to 2024 with a year extension if he wanted it. And when they were doing the press release, what they done at literally the last minute is in the background they had 2025. So he's turned up to do the photo shoot, knowing he signed the deal 2024 with the possible extension for a year. And he's turned up the photo shoot and they've had 2025, and he was a bit like, it's not 2025, it's 2024. So from that moment on, apparently there's been a little bit of animosity of, I'm going to use out really paying a fare here, and this was a bit. So
yeah, they kind of had him over a barrel a little bit to say, oh, we've announced it now. You can't just throw us.
Basically that. So I think he's had it in his locker to think, I remember that, I'm going to make you pay a little bit. It's going to be interesting how it kind of. But you know what? I will be honest. The whole Saudi Arabia, as much as we laugh and joke about it, I am looking forward to the kind of transfer window ending, because
I thought you were going to say I'm looking forward to the first game of the Saudi season.
No,
okay, Jordan's there. I'm watching it now.
No, definitely not.
With the little flag.
Yeah, I know. I need to get a little El Atitach, is it? Where'd you add?
Yeah. El Attifaq.
Attifaq, that's it. No, I'm looking forward to, the transfer window closing, because as funny as it is to talk about the crazy wages that they're on and who's going there next, I'm done with it now. Let's just focus on the Prem and focus on our bread and butter.
I'll be done with it after someone buys like Damari Gray or someone like that. Like that would be nice. Just it gives a bit of money.
Let's talk about Damari Gray in the lot then. I mean, again, I seen you've got which did make me laugh. What's the kid you got? Danjuma, is it? How do you say it?
Danjuma.
I want him to come out with one of these, like, it's a dream to play for Everton, when he could have played for you last season.
No, to be fair, you know what? He's played it really well. Did you see his first tweet?
No.
He's like, finally arrived, and it was like a thumbs up and then a snake after it.
Oh,
with like a little blue heart, and it was like tongue in cheek. Do you know what I mean? Listen, I did have his off a little bit, and I know I'm a snake, but I'm here now. So just let's just like draw a line under it. He's played it really well, like from a fan's point of view. His first interview, he said, "Look, I'll be honest, I was here. My agent had told me, and I was hearing strong rumours the manager was going to get sacked. I didn't want to be, signing for a team with one manager." He was obviously right. Lampard went not so long after that. So listen, it is what it is. Funny, like it's definitely funny.
Because I would have much preferred that than him to come out and say, "Oh, it's been a dream," and you're like, "Fuck off." But at least let's say fair play to him.
No, he said he did say, he said, "Look, initially I wanted to sign for Everton." He said, "Look, I've been to Goodison many times, played here, and it's a great place to play. I did want to sign for Everton." He said, "When I got here, the club were not able to convince me that the manager was going to stay." He said, "At this stage in my career, I'm on loan. I want to get a chance to kind of." He said, "I just didn't think it was the best place for me." So he was honest about it. And again, I think a lot of the fans, he gained a lot of respect with the way that he announced it, like acknowledging, "Listen, I did have his offer, I did sneak his a little bit, but I'm here now, and I'm going to give it a go."
So you've got him through the door. You've got Ashley Young. I'm not hearing anything else though. That is, if I was, would be a little bit.
There's a lot from the forward from Almeria who was an Atalanta both after him. Apparently the word is that he'll leave Almeria today or tomorrow. Atalanta we both had a bid accepted initially, and then Atalanta upped their bid to kind of get first refusal, if you like. Everton initially said they weren't going to increase the bid, but apparently today we'll increase that bid so that we've got, an equal chance of signing them. Now, I still don't think that puts us on a level playing field. Atalanta have got new owners, they're in Europe. They've been quite consistent over the last 5 or 6 years anyway. Complete opposite to Everton in that sense. Look, that's not going to completely transform the situation, but we desperately need a centre forward who can hold the line. The other one that's really strongly rumoured over the last few days is that Calvert will leave and go to Roma.
Wow.
Tammy Abrahams has a bad ACL injury towards the end of last year, so he's not going to be playing for a while. Jose Mourinho has apparently said, "Look, I think given what he's done under Ancelotti, I'd like to have that type of forward." Apparently the big sticking point at the moment is that Roma want him on a loan deal and Everton want a permanent transfer to obviously get some money in the coffers. We'll see how that pans out. It'll be it's the right move, I think, for both parties at this stage. Maybe not as such for Calvert-Lewin. I think Calvert-Lewin will probably sooner stay where he is and stay at home, but we need the cash, and we certainly can't continue to rely on somebody who can't stay fit, whether we like it or not.
You get that cash reinvested fast, because again, he was your only striker.
No. I'd like to think we've learned from our mistakes in the past and make sure that we've got someone who's definitely coming in before we release him, because we certainly can't go into the season with another, with one less striker, let alone where we are now.
Yeah, I think going onto the red side of the Merseyside as well, Liverpool look like they put the second, I think it's the second or third, it might be now improved offer for Southampton's Romeo Lavia. He's only 19. From him, the bits that I've kind of looked up on, some doubts on whether he's gonna be able to have the kind of the body to be able to play 3 times a week, in the sense that he had a couple of I've listened to it was a Southampton fan or Southampton journalist just saying that he did have a few niggling injuries out the season, and it's against that. I think you don't know when Klopp signs a player. Is he signing to be right? You're going straight in my midfield. I want to build a team around you, or is it one of those where I want to just have you in the background for 6-9 months, and then really you're a kind of long-term player? Now the fact he's only 19
probably suggests the latter.
Yeah, but again, though, he is, listen, he's £50 million. They're looking at around over the 37 million bid was rejected. So, for that money, you'd expect someone to play the part. But again, from the few Southampton fans or articles I read, it's, is he going to be able to be playing, 2, possibly 3 times a week, which being in the Europa League now? So I think, added to kind of Everton's kind of worries, what you're saying, it's just about getting people through the door. I think the fact that, they lost so many on a free, You know, I know Chamberlain didn't play a lot. Keita didn't play. Milner didn't play a lot. That's still 3 midfielders out the door. Then you throw in Fabinho and Henderson. There's 5 now gone. I think they just need.
Fabinho hasn't actually gone, has he?
He hasn't actually gone. No, apparently there's been some
dog.
There's dog. Yeah. I think that was just a rumor at first, and to do with the dogs getting passports or something. But
the dog's banned. The dog breed got banned in Saudi Arabia.
Something like that. I think. Listen, by the time this is out, he probably will have gone. So that's, there's 5 midfielders now gone, and they've only got 2 in. So they already needed players, and they lost 5. So yeah, I hope they just get them through the door, and they can have 3 fresh midfielders in. But again, that does bring a worry as a Liverpool fan of, you've lost a heartbeat to the team with Henderson and Milner. You've got 3 midfielders coming in. Sometimes can take a while to learn the way that wants to learn that press. And it's going to be interesting to see if they can hit the ground running, because I think that's what Liverpool needs to do.
Would you accept, though? And because last year you were almost like treading water to some extent, because you knew that there were a lot of players that needed to leave. You knew it wasn't the squad or the team that you wanted as fans or you used to see, and also wasn't maybe the team that the Klopp needed or the personnel. Would you accept as a fan base almost that Klopp coming out and saying, look, this is a transition year. We need to transition these 3 players, and we're not going to necessarily compete for X, Y, and Z, but bear with us? Or would it be like, if you do flop, if you call it that, again this season? Do you know what I mean? What would you prefer the stance to be now? Would you prefer to go, look, right, bang, we're ready, we're going for it? Or would you want the honesty?
It's a great point, and I think initially, given the fact that potentially, say, 3, maybe even 4 midfielders end up coming in, there's a point there to definitely say that this isn't the season where we're going to go for it. There needs to be some sort of transition. But I think the fact that for the whole of last season we knew there was problems, I think that made last season become the transition season, if you like. And I think fans will say, we've known about this problem for now 2 years, about the legs in the midfield going, so we're not actually kind of write off another season because we haven't got our transfers sorted in time. So yeah, completely get your point. But I've come out and been saying, look, I want us to be this, I want us to be that. So listen, Klopp's definitely not got the attitude of this is a season transition. So I think it's a great point you've made. There may be some fans that, in 10 games in, we're not firing, might say, look, they need a bit of time. But I think the majority of fans now will be like, look, we've known now for 18 months, 2 years, we've needed a new midfield. We need to get going quick. So
yeah, I always ask that question knowing the answer. I can sense the impatience almost that Liverpool fans now are going. And as you said, it is more down to the recruitment itself than the manager. I don't think there's any doubt that when he's won the league, Klopp is probably banging on the door going, this is the time now to tighten our grip and to make these changes. It hasn't happened.
I think it was that quadruple season when we nearly won it all. The fact that no one was brought in then, I think that's the thing where now it's like, no excuses now. We hit the ground running. So almost creating problems from back. Maybe one player the last thing on Liverpool, I've seen that the delay in the Anfield Road, it's not going to be
really?
October, yeah. So I think it's offering an extra 6,000 or 7,000 maybe.
How does that work? That would you're just not going to offer season tickets for that in the first season, and it's just going to be like, an extra 6,000 tickets that people can buy.
That's it. I don't know. It only got announced. I think it was Wednesday or Thursday. So
that was the last thing I'd read. It was going to be open for the
construction firm come out and said, look, it was very complex. It was always going to be tight, but yeah, it's not going to be done in time. So the impact that is on away fans as well. Also, people with season tickets, I don't know whether they've already sold them in prep for that. I don't know, but yeah, that's unfortunate. It won't be ready till October.
I'd be shocked if they hadn't, to be honest. But it'd probably be a case of saying you get carried forward the following season, or you maybe get an option.
I mean, it's late in the you're only 2 weeks away from,
Yeah.
Maybe one player, just kind of battle through a bit of football news before we round off. One midfielder Liverpool would have liked to have had was Bellingham. He scored against United in a friendly. I think he's played 2 games now, and he's looked unbelievable for Real Madrid, which is not nice to see.
Did you see, by the way, just on the it's just tweak me in memory then, seeing your memory, just coming to me thoughts. did you see Wrexham are touring America at the moment?
Yeah.
Obviously riding away with the Amazon thing, and they played United second string, didn't they?
Yeah.
At, where was it? I think it was in Philadelphia, somewhere like that. Looked unbelievable, by the way. It's like 40,000 there watching it.
Yeah.
Lee Mullen, unfortunately, has picked up an injury there. He punctured a lung in that game. Obviously, Scouser, and it was a big season for him getting back in the Football League. But yeah, it was mad. It was mad seeing a team that are only just recently a League Two team almost selling out a big stadium in America.
Yeah.
They had like jets flying over the stadium, fireworks going off when the goals went in. Yeah, it was insane. But
well, yeah, it is that kind of silly season, though, of friendlies, isn't it, and stuff like that. I mean, I'm not really into me friendlies and stuff like that.
no,
But again, you cannot not mention them when it comes to friendlies or debuts, if you like, with Messi.
oh,
So I didn't realise how bad Inter Miami were. They were on something like a 10-game winless streak. And
what happens when you had Phil Neville as the manager for a while?
yeah, but then you just throw in the GOAT, and then he scores a free kick on his debut, which was just like Messi of old. And then he scores 2 in his next match. Gets a couple of assists. I think they win 5-1 or 5-0. So, yeah, 2 games, 3 goals, 2 assists, I think. Wow. Unbelievable.
Yeah. Unbelievable. Yeah, crazy.
And then, there's just in the background, there's just the Kane's and buying stuff still going on. Getting a little bit bored of that now as well, to be honest. Walker looks like he might, well, there's talk about him going to Bayern Munich, but then he ends up captaining Man City when they play Bayern Munich as a friendly, which might have been a bit of a sign.
I wouldn't read anything into that, to be honest. You never hear, because, Guardiola got interviewed about, you never hear Guardiola speaking disparagingly about his players, whether they're going to leave or not. He was still waxing lyrical over Gundogan, before he left, and saying, look, we want him to stay. Yeah. He's highly respectful of the players. I think whatever's going on behind the scenes, he would always stick with them right up until the end. Particularly players like Walker, who've been such amazing servants to the club. I just think on the Harry Kane one, I think what's going on, and I know they're the distance themselves from it, but what's going on with Joe Lewis at the moment in terms of him being in the spotlight.
Yeah, he's just pleading not guilty to inside trading, which
no one accuses someone of inside trading without having a lot of evidence.
But after he's told, friends, he's told business partners, he's told lovers, whatever that means, who he's getting to bed with. But yeah,
Can you?
Got him on the WhatsApp group now. Yeah, that's interesting. I saw as well, mate, to keep it on footy a bit more. Well, I was going to say positive, but it's heartbreak for the Irish. Women's World Cup's going on at the moment. They got beat 2-1 by Canada. First ever goal in the Women's World Cup, but then get beat 2-1, so now they're knocked out.
Without being it was typical Ireland, you know what I mean? And like I say that in the nicest possible way. They got an amazing following there. They were really spirited. They give it a go, but just fell short. It's like the men's team are almost exactly the same, aren't they, when they turned up in World Cups?
Yeah.
The exception probably of 94 when they got through the groups and beat Italy, etc.
Well, that's what I was going to kind of finish on, mate, just to round off with the Women's World Cup now on. It gets to the kind of business end now. I think most teams have played 2 games now going into the kind of knockout bit.
England haven't.
Oh, England's still got to play the second game.
They played one, they've still got to play the second game. I think it's tomorrow,
yeah,
I think.
They had a bit of a not shaky start. I mean, they beat 81-0. I mean, not a great performance. Big question I wanted to kind of finish the pod on is, there's been such a kind of wave of positivity around England's game. The media have been right behind them. When will the media change like they do to the men? That if England don't perform, will the media get on the back?
Of course they will. Of course they will, yeah. They build teams up to shoot them down. I mean, what I'd say about England, and I might be eating my own words this time next week or the week after when we record, is they've got a manager in Vegan that knows how to win tournaments. Like, her record in tournaments is incredible, to the extent that I think she'll be, if England's successful in this World Cup, I think she'll be the first woman to come in and take a significant role in the men's game if she wants to. Honestly, I think she's that good as a manager. And they almost look the way they're going. Obviously, they weren't very convincing against Haiti. A couple of the warm-up games, they weren't entirely convincing either. But you know the way the Germans just slowly click into gear and stuff. That's what they done in the Euros. They didn't fly out the traps. Just slowly, and they got better and better as the tournament went on. I think the players have got so much belief in her as a manager and the way she goes about things.
And I hope they don't. The Euro final when they beat Germany, I was down in Wembley, took my daughter, and it was an amazing game, an amazing thing to be part of. And hopefully they can have some success in the World Cup. As I know my little girl will be right behind it. It's just going to be interesting where if they do fall short, will the media be on the backs like they are the men's team?
I think it depends. Like
it's been on an overdrive. The media have been on such an overdrive of building up the women's game and how it's amazing and and which it has, and it has been great. But at what point then does it start turning go actually he's a crap? Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, someone's just about to try and cut up some wood here next year. Sure, we're finished. Just one thing to add on that though, and I think it's important to bear in mind. The difference between the Euros and the World Cup is Brazil, USA, Canada. Canada, Olympic champions, USA dominated for years. Brazil are outstanding as well. They're three huge teams that will have a big say in this one. So I think it'll be a good one to get through the group because there's some, as you got there's some really poor sides. As there is in the men's World Cup, but especially in the women's World Cup, there's some really poor sides that are probably making the viewing a little bit difficult at times at the moment. But I am genuinely looking forward to the knockout. I think it'll be a decent watch when the big teams come through.
Cool, mate. Thanks again for giving up your time whilst you're on holiday.
Pleasure.
I'm actually on holiday myself next week, so I will take my laptop. We will get the recording done. And again, just exciting times for the podcast again going forward. A few new changes, which will all become apparent come the end of the summer holidays. So until then, Gary, enjoy your holiday. Thanks for supporting. See you next week.